Life as a parent is nonstop. I'm so focused on keeping my family healthy that I barely have time to take care of myself. If this sounds like you, then you need to give Symbiotica a try. Symbiotica is a health and wellness company that empowers individuals to take ownership of their health with high-quality formulas and supplements crafted to boost energy, immunity, gut health, and more. Symbiotica supplements are made with clean, natural ingredients, and they don't contain any toxins or artificial ingredients. Because they were designed for us, busy parents. They're quick and easy to take. Just a daily dose for your energy, immune system, and overall well-being. It's made staying consistent so much easier. And the best part? Symbiotica is having their holiday sale, so now's the perfect time to put your health in the driver's seat. Head to Symbiotica.com for 20% off with code GIFT20. That's CYMBIOTIKA.com with code GIFT20 for 20% off. Your health transformation journey starts now. Symbiotica Natural and Organic Supplements.
You've discovered your link to GoPowerCat.com's PowerCat podcast. Now, here's your host, GoPowerCat.com publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to the PowerCat Questions podcast. We're recording this on Election Day. And I promise you that during the course of this podcast, we will not ruin the results if you still don't know. We won't do it. We won't reveal anything. In fact, we won't reveal anything about K-State sports. It's going to be a really lame podcast. We're just going to play this we're just going to sit around and talk about stuff that has no consequence. Just kidding. It's Fitz, Zach, and Ryan Gilbert. Your podcast trio as we cover all of your questions from Wabash Station. And we are sponsored by the Fridge Wholesale Liquor. You never go wrong when you vote for the Fridge. You don't even have to, go into a booth. The whole Fridge store is a voting booth. Just vote with your liver. Get to the Fridge. Zach, how are you doing today, man? You look very casual.
Doing all right.
Yeah, see? Even a casual response.
Yeah.
Gil's House campus today. Any barriers up? Any, potential rioting and mayhem happening on the Kansas State campus?
Not yet, but it's good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm tired. I've been tired all week. In fact, I was tired last week. I'm just tired, guys. I need the off week. I just need the off week. And we get that next week. Although we're not really off, we just don't have a game to cover.
I think all trips to West Virginia, a bye week should come after, because I was very tired after that.
It's funny because that is a tiring trip, but when you stop and think about it, the only thing different about it is really you're on a plane for an extra hour or two.
Unless you go to Denver.
Oh, that was weird. That threw me off. That was proof of how groggy and tired I was all last week. You texted on Friday that you just landed in Denver, and I'm like, well, Zach went to Colorado on the off week. Hold on. I was just so out of it last week. So how far was the flight from Denver to Pittsburgh? 3.5?
No, it wasn't that long.
Oh.
Or, I mean, maybe with all the time differences and figuring that out, but I don't know. I think it was like a 2.5-hour flight. I watched a couple episodes of some television shows on Netflix, and that was about that. I almost lost my AirPods on the flight. I actually did lose my AirPods, my brand new AirPod Pros on the flight from Kansas City to Denver. Lost them. Pulled them out of my bag before takeoff. 2 minutes later, gone. Have no clue where they are.
No.
But I searched, on the ground. People helped me. Nothing. And then I tell the flight attendant, I'm like, hey, I lost these. Can you just make a little report that I lost them on this plane? She's like, well, we got some time. We could take a look. She's like, did you check all of the seat cushions? And I only checked the ones around me. And they were between a seat cushion that I was not sitting in. But there they were, sitting there. So I saved my AirPods from being lost for forever.
It sounds to me like your AirPods are trying to get away from you.
Maybe.
Are you in an abusive relationship with AirPods?
No, but when you lose your AirPods, I brought my second pair, my normal AirPods that were old, that I've had for a while, just in case for whatever reason. But I lost my first ones. I didn't want to pull out the backup ones. because then you look really presumptuous. Like, hey, I lost my AirPods. Like, wait, you're wearing them right now? Like, no, they're different ones. So I sat on the entire flight from from Kansas City to Denver, just sitting there. It's in silence, just contemplating life, because I knew the optics of me pulling out a second pair of AirPods would be very bad.
First world problems right there. Yeah. By the way, I'd like to put in a little ad here for the AirPods. Of all the things I got by turning to the iPhone finally, the AirPod Pros are absolutely incredible. They're one of the finest inventions ever. It's just incredible to have phone calls. I mean, they're even great. I'm noticing a lot of people on TV now, when they're having to, come in via Zoom or something or whatever, they're using their AirPods and they sound great. They just have little sticks sticking out of their ears. But the Pros don't have as long as sticks. They're more compact. Speaking of compact, get into the high-low. It's not a big place, so make sure you get there early, get your table, get posted up, order some pizza, get some pepperoni bricks. We've told you about them, and enjoy the high-low staff. It's a fun place. I wonder if they're getting ready to decorate for Christmas again. Ooh.
Probably not.
That was so cool last year. That was so well done. Speaking of well done, get into Tanner's. Don't get a well done burger, because don't be a communist. Is that how communists eat their burgers? I don't know. I don't know. But make sure you get that Kansas City Booga, as they pronounce them at Tanner's, for some unknown reason. Ron Gilbert, your family's kind of an expert in Tanner's lore. Why is it a Booga?
You know what? I wish I could give you an answer. Maybe I have to get back with you on that one.
How do you stand on the calling of the chicken strips chicken lips?
You can get away with it with as good as they are, right?
They're pretty good. Just think it's weird.
Boogamania.
Speaking of weird, this is the Power Cat Questions Podcast. We take the questions from our subscribers at Wabash Station, and we answer them for all to hear. And here to ask those questions is Ryan Gilbert.
Quick shout out to Eshin Tex for his prediction, 37-17. He was closer than, pretty much everyone was picking K-State there. So shout out to Eshin Tex. Unfortunately, you were very close on that blowout victory for West Virginia. But without further ado,
he did pick West Virginia to win.
He did, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Good for him.
Good for him.
There you go.
Ballsy.
I'm going to go to Vegas with the Eshin Tex. How's that sound?
I wonder if he picked Joe Jorgensen to win the election. Let's go.
First question of the podcast from Who for KSU. How much did the entire defense miss A.J. Parker against West Virginia?
Zach, you were there. It just seemed glaring to me. It was the first time I've seen someone be out this season, including Skyler, where I thought the team looks entirely different without them. And I just didn't think they looked cohesive on the back end of that defense on Saturday.
I agree. I think what we've seen here is that, A.J. Parker being a cornerback to start and then moving him to nickel, he's kind of a glue guy. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that, it doesn't really matter. There's been plenty of pieces on that defense that have been missing throughout the year. But when, A.J. Parker's out there, it's been okay because he's been, he can kind of slip in wherever you need him. And without him, I think it just says how good of a player A.J. Parker is for this defense and how critical he is that he needs to be on the field to make stuff work.
I agree. It was noticeable, and I hope he can make it back this week. I was happy to hear on Tuesday Kleiman say he practiced a little bit on Monday, so they're hopeful to have him back even more on Wednesday when they resume practice after Election Day. Hey, how do you guys feel about Election Day being an off day for student athletes?
I think it's good. Let them vote.
Well, the NFL, they're not taking off days.
Does it really take that long to vote? And how many are even registered in Kansas? I just found it all curious. I don't know. I'm all for it. I'm all for Election Day being a holiday, I just hope people realize that means there's no postal delivery, so that kind of screws up mail-in voting. But I just think it's interesting that everything's kind of shut down on Tuesday during a game week in the football complex. I tell you this, Bill Snyder wouldn't be happy about that.
I think since it's NCAA mandated, it's across the board. Everybody's taking a day off, so that's fair. Whether you think they should vote or not, at the very least, it's fair, and everybody's taking the day off. Nobody's getting an edge here.
I'm not against them voting. I'm just think it's weird. I don't know. Everyone take the day off. I wouldn't mind taking the day off. I might want to take the next few days off just to watch TV. Anyhow, let's move on with more questions from Wabash Station.
Next one is another one from Who4KSU. How is it that we saw more Jacardier Wright last year than we have this year?
Kleiman talked about that a little bit today, or was it Brian Anderson? Just isn't getting it done, basically, in practice. I think there's a lot more at work here than they want to talk about, but they could have used him on Saturday. Did he even go, Zach? Was he even on the travel team?
Sorry, who is this?
Is it Jacardier Wright, the running back?
I don't remember looking for him specifically.
Yeah, I don't know. I just find it curious. He's not getting more playing time, considering they're not getting great production beyond Deuce, and even Deuce on Saturday wasn't that good. So,
next question from Anderson Bluemont: if Bradley Moore is out this week, can Sammy Wheeler be an adequate replacement?
I don't know if Sammy's as good a blocker, point of attack kind of guy, but I think he is a good receiver. I think he moves well. And I think you'll see them kind of combine Lenners and Wheeler to replace Moore. Lenners more in the blocking role, although Nick had a catch. Yeah, it'll be curious to see what they do. And I'll be curious to see if Bradley Moore isn't the A.J. Parker of the offense. Strangely enough, as the glue guy, as Zach said, that kind of keeps everyone together for a transfer coming in and being this important, not just in production, but in leadership, is pretty impressive and says a lot about Bradley Moore, and also says a lot about the team, that they needed someone like that to step in.
I agree, Fitz. I think, there's a similar parallel there with Bradley Moore for the offense, and I don't know if you can do a tight end by committee in this offense. Bradley Moore is essentially the leading receiver. Whatever you want to call his title, he is the best pass catcher on the team right now. Doesn't matter where he plays, doesn't matter where he blocks. He is the best. So trying to replace that with Sammy Wheeler of all people, or even Nick Lenners, I think it's going to be tough to do. And I don't know if it's, replacing Bradley Moore. I think it's going to be more than just replacing the position, so to speak. I think you're going to need some wide receivers to step up, maybe Keon Mosey, out of the backfield. Same with Deuce Vaughn. I think if you're trying to look at replacing him by committee, I think it's going to expand more than just out of the tight end position. And you might have to see some more, some different strategy looks as far as who you're passing the ball to.
No disrespect to Wheeler at all here, but I don't think you can really replace Bradley Moore. Like you touched on it, Zach. He's the best pass catcher on the team. I think the more, reasonable player to really replicate Moore would have to be Nick Lenners in my mind, just because, Wheeler's not as big and bulky as Lenners, and, Nick can do a lot of those blocking, things like that. But I don't know, not that Sammy can't do those things, but, I think when you look at just kind of the body type and how they play the game, I think Lenners is more of the quote-unquote adequate replacement there for Bradley Moore.
I'll be right, yeah.
Another question from Anderson Bluemont: is the offensive line finally locked in with 5 guys who are going to play the majority of the snaps to try to get the chemistry going?
I think so. I think now that they've moved Christian Duffy to left tackle and they have Cooper Beebe back, mostly healthy at right tackle, the interior 3 have been pretty consistent all year. I think they've got their guys. Connor Riley said at Tuesday's press conference that he's not very happy with how they played at West Virginia. I don't know that anyone really played well outside of Drew Wiley on the entire team. It just wasn't a very good day for K-State. the offensive line will not be great this season at any point. They've kind of plateaued out right now. I think the last couple games, I haven't really seen them do spectacular things, but I think they do. They are playing pretty good football, and they just weren't good enough for the best front in the Big 12, which is West Virginia. Unfortunately, Oklahoma State's also pretty good up front, so this will be a big test for them. But, yeah, I do think they've got a set 5, and now maybe they can settle in.
Yeah, I think now that Leviston isn't really a main feature, I think that we've got our 5 guys that we're going to see. And now that Cooper Beebe's back healthy, I think that's a good sign going forward. And hopefully, now that, it seems like it's set as everyone's, as long as everyone's healthy, I think, these are the guys going forward. And I think if they, like I said, if they stay healthy, I think that's going to be important for them, gelling as a group. And then, they might see some difficult stuff from Oklahoma State or, whoever else in the future, but them being on the field together, I think is going to, pay dividends in the future.
Next question from Ema Wildcat 82. It seems to me that Will Howard is taking something off his passes to make them more catchable. Should he just throw full speed and we get our receivers more stickum?
Well, this has been a point of discussion among Ryan Wallace and myself. He thinks he's dinged up in some way. I think he's just overthinking things and trying to steer the ball in and trying not to overthrow it. I mean, certainly the screen pass, he might have put a little too much zip on that hit Sebastian Taylor in the hands and bounced up and was intercepted for a touchdown. That doesn't encourage him to put zip on the ball. And probably in reality, it's somewhere in between. I think he might be a little bit dinged up, but I also think he's probably overthinking things. There's so much emphasis put on not throwing interceptions. And I think he's really worried about that. And it led to maybe him throwing some interceptions. It's the irony of it. Will needs to play better, but like Chris Klieman said, everyone needed to play better at West Virginia. This wasn't a quarterback thing. There might be an argument to be said that he's trying to put the ball and make it very catchable for a group of wide receivers that are really struggling. Or he just might have a dinged shoulder because he's taking some hits.
Yeah, I think, like you said, Fitz, it could very well be somewhere down the middle. But I just think he's still not comfortable yet. I think that, whether he's injured or he's trying to steer stuff, I think he's just not comfortable as a starting quarterback at the Power 5 Big 12 level. I think that, it's just going to take some more time. And I think that he deserves the benefit of the doubt a little bit, with no spring ball. Yes, he was here on campus, but he really didn't, he didn't get much, as much training as he could have possibly had coming into this season. So I think there's a little bit of a learning curve there that I think he still gets the benefit of the doubt. But I know it's not basketball, but Shane Southwell always said, after 8 games, I know it's basketball, but after 8 games, you're not a freshman anymore. So at some point, that, him being a freshman is going to expire. I don't know when that expiration date is. He's got some tough games ahead, but at some point, yeah, he might still be young, but I think he's got a couple more games where if we're still seeing these same problems, he's trying to steer balls or maybe he's dinged up a little bit. I think there might be some concern there and wondering what's happening. But, I think it's just more of a comfortability thing. I think he needs to settle in a little bit and relax, now that he's taken over this starting role.
Not to be, critical of Howard at all, because like Klieman said, that you mentioned, Fitz, the entire team just played awful on Saturday. And the defense, with or without Parker, they didn't have that mojo that you need to win games, in the Big 12. But I talked about this briefly on my podcast, that when Howard throws the ball, my heart kind of skips a few beats and I get nervous. Oh boy, what's he going to do? Is this going to be an interception? I didn't have that feeling with Skylar Thompson. Again, I'm not trying to be critical of him, but I'm just saying that, it doesn't feel right to me just kind of watching him on TV. I don't know if it's an injury, if it's a confidence issue, but I think something's got to be changed moving forward for me to just not get so, anxious when that ball leaves his hand. I didn't have that feeling with Skyler, but I definitely, past couple of weeks, have been feeling it with Will Howard.
Yeah, I completely understand that. I mean, anytime you got a new quarterback in there that hasn't really built up his confidence, I think your confidence in him kind of is can waver, and I hope the team doesn't feel that way. Let's see what happens this weekend, because I think he'll be better. I think K-State will be better. I just don't know if it's good enough to beat a pretty darn good Oklahoma State team.
Last question of the first half from Jay Boland, PSU. So after the first game against Arkansas State, it seemed that the team took the loss to heart and learned from it. Do you believe that the team will take the same approach following last week's game?
I hope so. I also think there's a degree here that one game doesn't matter to the next game. And it doesn't in most seasons, and I think this season in particular. You just have bad days, and then maybe the next one's going to be a good day. I think we try to turn football into a novel that all 10 chapters or 12 chapters, depending on how many games you're playing in a season, all connect and make sense. It doesn't always work that way. I mean, the team can be completely different from one week to another. We saw that between Arkansas State, even though they're the off week before Oklahoma. It could happen again this week, although I think the fact that they're going to go take on another good opponent might be a real challenge for this team in such short turnaround. I'm not overly worried about it. I am overly worried about the fact that I clearly on this podcast last week instructed Jay Boland to tighten up his scores and quit missing and get the exact score. And he didn't. He didn't take to my coaching at all. At all. I mean, I wasn't asking for a cure for the coronavirus. I was just asking for a perfect score from him. Nope, didn't happen.
As nice as the response was after the Arkansas State game, going out and beating OU, going on a 4-game winning streak, it's really great. But I feel like the West Virginia loss is different. And I feel like K-State was exposed, beat. I think that I don't want to say that West Virginia cracked a code, because I don't really feel like K-State was too difficult to beat. But I think that, the game plan's out there, the roadmap's out there. I think it's clear that, Oklahoma State and Iowa State are going to be some tough games. And having a performance like you did against West Virginia, it wasn't a close game like the Arkansas State game was. K-State was never really in it. Once they go down and fail to get a touchdown and they have to kick a field goal, yeah, they took a 3-0 lead, but I think that kind of spelled how the day was going to go. You can't get it in the red zone. I mean, so I don't know how much you can learn from, hey, you guys got to score when you can score. But, it wasn't just that on Saturday. So, I'm hopeful that, maybe it'll motivate them against Oklahoma State. But seeing what we saw on Saturday against West Virginia, it doesn't give me the same sort of confidence of a bounce back like they had after the Arkansas State game against Oklahoma.
Agreed. Gills?
Piggybacking off of that a little bit, K-State didn't have the special teams touchdown, and West Virginia was able to keep Deuce Vaughn in check. So they didn't have those home run plays that they're used to seeing in the Big 12, which is not something that you can rely on week in and week out. I know the good teams, they find ways to make those plays and win games, but you can't rely on that every game. And when you don't have those plays, more pressure gets put on Will Howard and the offense, and it's kind of just a snowball effect from there, where everything just kind of starts falling apart like we saw against West Virginia. So, it all comes back together with next week. I'm not confident. I would love for this team to learn a lot from this loss, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I think I'm kind of agreeing with you here, Zach. We just found out that this team might not be as good as we thought. They got exposed. Certainly hope I'm wrong on that, but K-State seems to have quite a few issues here that they need to rectify moving forward.
And here's another thing. K-State has only played one quarter of good offense in the last 8 quarters.
Yeah.
Third quarter against think about the KU game. Yeah, they won in a blowout fashion. How much of that was the offense, though? I mean, mostly the third quarter was it for the offense.
It was.
So, yeah, you win 55-14 against KU, but there's still a lot of question marks after that game. And then you see, K-State fell flat essentially against West Virginia. There was nothing going. There's been nothing going for 7 out of the last 8 quarters. I don't know how far back you want to go to TCU or, whatever games, but K-State has not been amazing on offense. And I think we finally have seen them hit a wall of, hey, we ran out of stuff we can do. Oh, yeah, by the way, Briley Moore's gone now, and he's been half of our offense. So I think it's tough to expect any sort of, comeback similar to earlier this season.
Well, if you play a team and you win the turnover battle, limit explosive plays, and neutralize special teams, you're going to win the game probably. And that's pretty much the code, as you said, for beating K-State. Just don't give them an advantage in any of those areas. And the biggest thing West Virginia did was, as Gills pointed out, they limited special teams. They were the only team that has held its own against K-State in special teams this season. And it showed up on the scoreboard. K-State couldn't get that crutch play, that big play that got them going again through special teams. Just didn't happen. That's it for the first half of the PowerCat Questions podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. We have more of your questions on the other side of this break, and Gills will also make a bold prediction.
The PowerCat podcast will be right back.
JamesAllen.com is the online destination to easily design a customized engagement ring and save up to 50% compared to traditional stores. You pick a diamond, whether it's lab-created or earth-created, James Allen has over 200,000 conflict-free stones. Then you pick your ring setting and metal. And if you need some help, they have real-time diamond consultations available, where an expert can walk you through it all. Get 25% off your order at JamesAllen.com, code podcast. That's JamesAllen.com, code podcast.
Picture this nightmare scenario. You're hosting friends for the big game. It's neck and neck in the fourth quarter, and suddenly you realize you're out of drinks. You start to sweat. Your friends start to turn on you. You're forced to go on a last-second drink run and end up missing the game-winning touchdown while in line. Terrifying, isn't it? Luckily, you can avoid the drama with Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. With Drizzly, you can shop a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits, then get them delivered right to your watch party. Compare prices across multiple stores in your area, find the best deals on game day drinks, and get back to armchair quarterbacking from, you guessed it, your armchair. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com today. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations.
We now send it back to the PowerCat podcast.
Welcome back to the PowerCat Questions podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. Tim Fitzgerald, Ryan Gilbert, Zach Carlson, here answering your questions. That's what we do. And I said before we went into break that Ryan Gilbert was about to make a bold prediction in the second half. I'm working on like my teasers, like the thing you say before you go to commercial, and right after this, we'll tell you where we found Elvis Presley alive and well. And then you never answer that question after the break, which happens to me all the time. Gilbert, you don't have any bold predictions, do you?
Wish I did, man. I did.
There's no bold prediction, but I'm glad you're back, folks. I tricked you. If that's why you came back, you're a sucker. But welcome back. Segment sponsors, Tanner's and the High-Low. You don't have to be a sucker to go there. You're smart if you go there. Wow, that was good. Man. Getting good at this stuff. More of your questions from Wabash Station. Here's Ryan Gilbert.
First question of the second half of the PowerCat Questions podcast is from Who for KSU. Midway through, who are your K-State MVPs on offense, defense, and special teams?
Oh, offense, I'm going with probably Briley Moore. It'll end up being Deuce Vaughn, probably, especially Briley's hurt. Drew Wiley on defense for me, folks. Guy has been a revelation. For a guy that played 20 snaps a game last year, now it's playing almost every snap possible. And is really good. It's incredible. And I got to be Phillip Brooks at the midway point, doesn't it, for special teams? Huh? Yeah. I don't know.
Probably Phillip Brooks for special teams. I mean, there's no other option. There are other options. You got Blake Lynch, but I mean, Blake Lynch has been pretty nails, and that's what you expect out of your kicker. Defense, I'd call Drew Wiley the most improved player for sure. I don't know if I'd call him the most valuable. I'd probably call AJ Parker most valuable just based on what I said earlier in the podcast, just kind of being that glue guy. Offense, kind of with you on Bradley Moore, but like you said, probably going to be Deuce Vaughn at the end of the year. But I mean, I don't know how long Bradley Moore is going to be out for, but I think just Bradley Moore being able to come in and be the leader that he's been and being the performer that he's been, I think that's I think it's been irreplaceable, and we'll see how replaceable it is come Saturday.
I think Deuce Vaughn is 100% my offensive MVP. I know you guys disagree, but you go back to some of those games like the Oklahoma game, they just, that's probably not a win without Deuce Vaughn on the team. Phillip Brooks and Wiley, I'm with you guys on special teams and defense, but I'm going to go with Deuce on the offensive side of the football.
Okay.
Next question from 3G Wildcat. Up to this point of the season, what are your biggest surprises and what are your biggest disappointments?
My disappointments are receivers. I thought the receivers were going to be good. One guy left, another guy's injured, another guy can't catch a cold. It's been awful.
Catch COVID.
Can't catch COVID. My goodness, it's just been awful. My biggest surprise, that's a good question. Probably the cornerbacks. K-State's been looking for a couple long corners that can hold up in man coverage for a long time. And lo and behold, they found them on their roster. I understand that Gardner was recruited to do that. But Boydo, it's been incredible. I mean, he's not perfect. He's not awesome. But those two corners have been pretty darn salty all year. They had a little letdown at West Virginia like everyone else, but they have allowed K-State to do things defensively that, honestly, K-State hadn't been able to do in a while.
I agree with you on cornerbacks, but for the sake of picking a different answer, I'll say Deuce Vaughn. I don't think anybody saw Deuce Vaughn coming in as a true freshman and just lighting it up like he has. I know the comparisons to Darren Sproles have been there, but, when was the last time you saw a running back, play so early and be so critical to the team? I think it's really cool to see, how good he is. And, you're going to get this for at least another 3 years, provided he doesn't leave for the draft early, but, at least 3 years. And, hey, this season doesn't really count, so he could be back for 4 more years. So, really big surprise for him. I think disappointments, like you said, wide receivers. I don't think there's any other place on the field that you can look at, maybe running back depth a little bit, but, you still got Deuce, you still got Harry. You maybe, with how they've done the committee, running back by committee, maybe you'd like, one other running back to step up a little bit, whether it's Jacardia Wright finally getting some playing time, whether it's Tyler Burns, whoever else. But yeah, wide receivers, like you said, can't catch a cold, can't catch COVID. It's been tough.
K-State's defense has been good. So, don't get me wrong on that, but some of the guys in the front seven, I think Wyatt Hubert is, I don't want to say he's been a disappointment. That's really not a good word to describe him, but he hasn't lived up to his expectations, I think, coming into the year. Maybe a guy like Justin Hughes, throw his name out there. They could be doing maybe a little bit more for this team, but obviously the wideouts have been, very disappointing with Knowles and Youngblood and people like that. But with offense, I think they're coming for you, Fitz or Zach, whoever that is.
I know.
It's Fitz.
They got you. They finally found you. Deuce Vaughn, 100%, has been the biggest surprise for this team, though. Next question from 3G Wildcat. Beyond wins and losses, what goals would you like to see the team meet over the final 4 games of the regular season?
I just want them to get better. I mean, I would like, if they lose this weekend and they've got 2 games down and then they lose at Iowa State and they're 4-3 all of a sudden, just go young, just play guys. I mean, this season's literally meaningless. Now, would I like them to get at least 5 Big 12 wins? Yeah, I would. But, I mean, the more experience you can get these young guys, the better. I mean, this is just a free season, basically. It doesn't count for much of anything. Just try to play the long game here and see what makes you best for next year and 2022 and on down the road. I'm fine even if Skyler, at some point if Skyler was able to come back, just stick with Will Howard. Just keep playing the long game here. Figure out how you're going to be a better team for 2021 and do that, whatever that is.
I think, if the losses are going to come, I mean, if it's Oklahoma State, Iowa State, if those games get kind of out of hand, I think I'd still like to see Will Howard out on the field for as long as possible. As long as you're going to keep him healthy and he isn't, taking hits, by that point in the game, if it's out of hand, I don't think that either team is going to try being dirty and trying to take out a young quarterback. But, I just want to see him out on the field getting experience. If you're not winning games, he needs to be out there. The wide receivers need to be out there too, trying to make catches. So, I think that's really all I'd want to see. This season is so weird. Everybody's going to be able to get their eligibility, retain eligibility for what they were going to have this year. So I think that's all you can hope for and wish for, I think, is just get good playing time, get good experience, understand that, hey, if you're not going to win these next couple games, just kind of pack it in, get to a bowl game that's, in Texas, whatever. And just, hope you can win that and build off of that, because I think what the season has shown already is this team can be good, but there's still a lot of parts that need improvement. And if you're not going to win those games, the way to improve is just, sticking with it, staying out there and hoping that your guy for the future can get better come next year.
I don't know what tangible goals I would have, but I'm with you here with Will Howard. We don't know who, 2 or 3 years from now, who the quarterback is going to be, if it's going to be him or Rubley. But in my mind, based on the way, I get it, he's young, I get that, but the way he's played the past couple of games, I don't see how you could be comfortable with him being the quarterback moving forward. So this is, really his chance to prove, like you talked about, the young guys getting in there and playing. This is his chance to prove that, hey, I'm the guy. I'm good enough to compete in the Big 12, because so far he's really not performed that well. So that's kind of, I guess, the goal, so to speak, here for this team. Other than wins and losses, obviously go out and compete, give your young guys minutes, but Will Howard's definitely going to have to do better and accomplish whatever goals he may have. Who knows what that is, but he's got to be better.
Well said. Yep.
Next question is from Who for KSU. Rank the remaining Big 12 schedules for each team that could make it to Arlington from easiest path to hardest path.
Hold on. I got to rank schedules? Nobody's talked about ranking schedules. I got to pull them.
Got to pull up a grid.
I know.
Exactly.
I'll say this. I think Oklahoma State, they've got Kansas State and Oklahoma left. So I think Iowa State's probably in the best situation here. They've only got Kansas State, and it's in Ames. So, I think that bodes well for them. They got Texas, but I'm not a Texas believer still, guys. I'm just not. But that will be huge. That's the week after K-State. That's on a Friday, isn't it? That's
Black Friday. I wish K-State would play a Black Friday game, man. The Big 12 should make that a whole day. Not what the question was, but I wish that the Big 12 would just take that Friday and say, hey, that's going to be our day.
So, Oklahoma State at K-State, off week at OU, play host to Tech, and then go to TCU and Baylor. Are you kidding me? They have 4 out of 5 on the road?
Whoa.
That has to be an error. There's got to be an error.
No, that's right. It's right. It's right because the Baylor game's a makeup. So they were gonna end.
Yep.
I mean, I think you got to kind of take that the 3-game pod there of Iowa State, Texas, Kansas State, and then you get the off week. And then you're just gonna have for those 3 games, you get rid of the Baylor game. Those 3 games, you had 2 home games, 1 road game, and then it just flips to 1 home and 2 road. So, yeah, I don't know if at Baylor's necessarily a tough test, though.
What?
I don't think that's as big of a deal.
What are you saying? Baylor, the mighty Bears, make the claw with your hand. It's scary. Yeah, they suck. That's going to be a big one for K-State. K-State needs to go get that game at the end of November down there. Why am I even looking at Baylor's schedule? This question's about the contenders. Iowa State.
I think
they have Baylor, they have K-State, they go to Texas, and they have West Virginia. I don't know. West Virginia might be positioning themselves to be kind of a sneak in the back door and contend here team. We'll see, but I don't see anyone going through the league right at this point without 2 losses. I think everyone's going to have at least 2 losses, and that brings Oklahoma right back into the equation for
right. And I mean, it brings Texas into the equation too with 2 losses. So if you look at all the 2-loss teams, I think West Virginia probably has the toughest schedule. They have Texas, Oklahoma, and Iowa State. I think that West Virginia is probably the most unlikely of the 2-loss teams to win out. So I'd probably rank them as the highest. Texas probably has one of the easiest schedules now. They knock off Oklahoma State. They just have West Virginia, KU, Iowa State, and K-State. I guess K-State and Iowa State are still kind of at the top there with 1 loss, but I think that Texas has an easier schedule than West Virginia at this point, I think. OU.
West Virginia and Texas play this weekend, so someone's going to come out of that with a 3rd loss.
Yeah. Oklahoma State, I mean, after K-State and Oklahoma, or K-State and OU, I think that, they're pretty much in the clear. I don't feel confident in K-State this week. I don't really feel confident in K-State's chances. I'd probably say that K-State probably has the toughest schedule remaining. Just the fact that they have the 2 1-loss teams still on the schedule in front of them.
Probably.
And I think they're the only team that has that, at least that are contenders. So I'd probably rank K-State as the highest. And then, you're probably looking at Texas, maybe having I don't even remember what I said about Texas' schedule. There's so many games still, and the fact that we're probably going to have a couple of 2-loss teams in the championship game. We need to wait a couple more weeks before we can really have any sort of discussion with the schedule.
I think I'm glad I'm not West Virginia. They looked really good against K-State, but they go to Texas, then they play host to TCU, OU, and go to Iowa State. That's a rugged road. I mean, you're catching Texas and Oklahoma on the back end when they seem to be playing better, and then you close at Iowa State in December. Man, they could have literally an iceberg coming from the north into Ames in December. That's how cold it gets in Iowa. It gets that cold where the Arctic reaches down through Canada and into Iowa. I'm not a meteorologist. I just pretend. Anyhow,
not to shoot you down at all, Fitz, but I don't see West Virginia really competing much. I mean, their wins are over KU, Baylor, and Texas Tech, and the Baylor and Tech wins were I think they were by a touchdown. The Baylor game went to overtime, and they played well on Saturday. Give them credit, but
West Virginia lost to Tech. That was the killer. Yeah, West Virginia lost to Tech.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
pardon me.
That's what's going to kill them. Is you can't go to Lubbock and lose if you want to be a contender. But yeah, I think they're dangerous. They're a disruptor. But looking at their schedule, there's no way they run that table. I just don't see it. If they do, they're a really good football team. They turn the corner.
Looking at it here, though, K-State's the only team that has Oklahoma State and Iowa State remaining on their schedule, period. And those are, in my mind, the 2 best teams in the Big 12. So looking at the easiest. I think you got to give it to Iowa State, like you talked about. I mean, you've already gotten Oklahoma State out of the way. We'll see what happens. I know there's 4 or 5 games left for some of these teams, so you can play that game all day long. This team plays that team, but we'll see what happens, and maybe in a few weeks from now we can come back, and once we hit that home stretch, readdress this question.
Well, it's interesting because we're kind of talking about the conference now in 2 different parts. The upper part being K-State, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Oklahoma, Texas, and maybe West Virginia in terms of quality football teams, like a team that can beat you. And then you got the rest, TCU, Baylor, Tech, and KU, that seem to be trading off wins and losses amongst themselves, and they're not going to beat anyone out of that group. At least that's the way it appears right now.
Next question from Itane Bibi. If Nebraska wants to be back and does come back, will it force us to abandon the round-robin format? If so, is it worth taking an 11th member?
Well, I don't think they'll take 11. They'll go 12. I mean, they won't just go to 11. That's an even worse number than 14.
Yeah. They'll go to 12, or they'll find West Virginia a nice home.
Right. I mean, the next round of expansion, I can see the Big Ten trying to continue to erode into the ACC, and I think at that point West Virginia will end up there. But I would take Nebraska back, and I don't. If you can get Nebraska back, then I'm fine with the Colorado State if that's your best other option. I'm fine with a team that's a little more regional than national, because I think Nebraska does change the dynamic. I think they will want to come back at some point, and I think the Big Ten's going to be fine with letting them go. We'll see how it all plays out. I would take Nebraska back, but I just think it's funny. Nebraska's just not happy. They're not winning football games, so they have to blame something, and it can't be the fact that they're not good enough right now. It's the conference. Texas is holding them back, and now the Big Ten commissioner's holding them back. Something's always out of their control that they got to be mad about. So, but I would take them back.
Who are the 3 schools that got football back for the Big Ten? Nebraska, Ohio State, and the other one was Iowa, right?
Yeah.
See, if Nebraska comes back, and if Nebraska after this whole, this season, I'm sure there's going to be other stuff in the future that would make them try to come back. But if Nebraska's out the door, I could totally see them saying, "Hey, Iowa, come with? Come on, let's go."
Could be interesting. It'd certainly be a good play for the conference to try to get them.
It'd be an amazing play for the conference, and I feel like Iowa, I think that they might be able to see, hey, if Nebraska's not really having success, and Iowa was probably the Nebraska of the conference before Nebraska came in. I could totally see them dipping and saying, hey, let's make Iowa State a conference game every year. Why not? It might, that realignment might play out well for everybody here. Well, maybe not the Big Ten, but for the Big 12 for sure. So, I think that if the Big 12 is going to expand with Nebraska, I have a feeling that if Nebraska is bold enough to do it, others will say, hey, they're right. I think we should join them. And I think that the Big 12 being geographically where they are, I think that they can pull from a lot. Like we've mentioned the Arizona schools before. I think there's, even Arkansas, there's plenty of Power 5, some fringe Power 5, maybe not fringe Power 5, but fringe teams in their own conferences that are Power 5.
Right.
That
would see an advantage of being in the Big 12.
Right. That are vulnerable to saying, hey, you know what? I think we'd rather just be in the Big 12. There's going to be better advantage here. So I think that the Big 12, perhaps not adding BYU, not adding Cincinnati, back when they could have, it may pay off here. They waited and they got what they wanted.
Yeah, thank goodness it didn't get Cincinnati. Then they might have a quality football team then.
And I wish we had Dr. Dan Keister joining us. He loves talking realignment.
Yeah,
but, he does. I'm good with Nebraska back here. Good for the league, no matter, like you said, who it may be. If it's Colorado State, it's overall going to be a good thing to have them back. They against Wisconsin, when that game got postponed, they were trying to play football. and the Big Ten shot that down. So, I think it's only a ticking time bomb before they leave the Big Ten and come back home.
Nebraska whines a lot, but I agree with them on this. If the conference sets out parameters for when you play and when you don't, which the Big 12 did, and people are following it, you follow it. You don't say, oh, you don't want to play because you got too many guys at quarterback that are out, even though you meet the parameters to play. I'm kind of with them. I'd be a little perturbed too. And now Wisconsin's backed out of 2 games, so Wisconsin's just not going to be playing football. I don't know. It's crazy. I don't know what Wisconsin's doing up there. I think they're having COVID orgies or something. They've got so much COVID on that football team. I don't know what's going on in Wisconsin. Get your stuff together, folks. You're trying to play football in the Big Ten. You're disturbing Nebraska. I'm sorry. Got carried away.
This was Nebraska's year, and Wisconsin just messed it all up.
That's exactly it. Nebraska saved the Big Ten, and now the Big Ten is not saving Nebraska. Oh, it's just awful.
Last question of the podcast from K-Ned. Fitz, please reflect on Billy Tubbs and just how good he was at playing the unapologetic conference nemesis to every school. Did he receive the greatest technical of all time?
Yes, he did. Absolutely did. Please, no throwing of objects on the court, no matter how bad the officiating is. Just unbelievable. I remember when it happened. You're right. He played a character because if you ask people, Billy Tubbs is loved. I mean, he's loved in the coaching profession. Those that played for him, he kind of seemed like an outlaw, the troublemaker, almost like he was willing to be the heel in the wrestling world. But everyone loved him, and he was a great coach. Some of those Oklahoma teams that he coached, it was so fun. The Big 8 back then with Norm Stewart and Billy Tubbs, and it just had so many great characters in the coaching profession. Johnny Orr at Iowa State. It was really cool. It was a cool conference. But great basketball coach, great personality, made it important at Oklahoma. Think about it, how great Oklahoma football was back then. It was, just really a power. It still is, but and there was value in Oklahoma basketball, all because of Billy Tubbs made it so. Just willed it to be so. It was a really great coach. That was a fun time of basketball. It really was. That's it. Man, that flew by. Well, I wish you all well on your predictions for this game. I don't have any idea what I'm going to predict in Kansas State, Oklahoma State. I don't have a good feeling about the game, but I don't know if I think it's going to get away from K-State like West Virginia did, or if it'll be a competitive game, or like last year, not appear so bad on the scoreboard. But as Chris Kleiman admitted at Tuesday's press conference, it was bad because it was bad. But it's going to be interesting. And we'll see. Maybe K-State responds with a really good performance and gets out of there with a win, and that changes everyone's opinion about this team yet again. I know this. When you come to town, stop at the Fridge, Tanner's, and the Hilo, and make sure you're subscribing to the PowerCat podcast. Please subscribe so that it downloads automatically to your devices at Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're not a regular podcast listener, get out there and find some. There's a great thread on Wabash Station right now about what some people listen to. It's kind of interesting. There's some real dorks. Man, they listen to weird stuff. Man, I tell you what, I love them, but there's a lot of people out there listening to fighter pilots. I don't know. Zach, do you like to listen to fighter pilots?
I probably would, yeah.
Okay.
Sounds interesting.
There we go. But probably more interesting than this battling monkey stuff I'm doing right now. We'll talk to you next week.
PowerCat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.